All right, the fall of 2017 continues. I've had some great action this fall on some beautiful days. Well, today is not one of those days. It is blowing a gale down here in Lower Plaquemines Parish. We're at the mouth of the Mississippi River. My good buddy Jeff Bruhl and I are planning to head out and fish bass. We had this hard cold front that just came through. Wind's blowing probably 20, maybe above 20 miles an hour. But the good news is the Mississippi River is low and the tide's supposed to be falling all morning. Very much looking forward to getting out there. We've got about 6 hours of a falling tide. And boy, magical things happen down here at the mouth of the river when the tide is falling. All right, so we're just getting out here and conditions are pretty rough. We got a severe northeast wind and it's gloomy. Boy, is it gloomy. Hard overcast. But what Venice is known for is producing beautiful bass. A number of different ways, but primarily flipping and pitching. Didn't have the camera on because it was kind of misting a little bit, but Jeff just caught one on a baby brush hog, fishing the edges of these lilies. We'll see if they got a few more here. There he is. There he is.
There you go. You get him out. Oh, a good one. Oh, yeah.
Nice bass. All right, so that is why you make the trip downriver to Venice. Not a monster, but boy, it's so much fun pulling him up out of these lilies. Let me tell you, he was hooked. He was not getting off. Yeah, I got a quarter. Oh! Oh goodness. Oh, he ate my claws. Ate my claws.
Told God you're a buddy.
Hey, you stole my bass, huh?
There you go.
Jeff Bruhl is a fish thief.
What are friends for?
So I'm fishing a rage craw. I got it rigged Florida style with the weight pegged. I got a 1/4 ounce bullet weight. Jeff is fishing a baby brush hog. Pegging the weight is absolutely essential here because we're doing a lot of punching through hyacinths. If you don't peg your weight, then your weight falls on one side of the hyacinth, your worm falls on the other, and you end up with a mess. So you got to peg your weight down here. So Jeff and I are down at Venice for 2 days of fishing. I tell you, it's really nice being down here for a couple days, not having to go home at the end of the day. We're sleeping down here, and our initial plan was to fish spinner baits and chatterbaits today because it's so cloudy and gloomy and windy, kind of like a perfect spinnerbait day. We came back in this area with all these hyacinths, and Jeff caught a bass right off the bat. I'm talking like maybe a second or third flip. So we've been doing this ever since. We're certainly not killing them, but we're picking up one here, one there.
Missed.
And I tell you, if I had it my way, we wouldn't fish a spinnerbait the whole time we're here. I love doing this. There's nothing like going to pick up your bait and feeling that weight, wondering if it's a fish or not, maybe feeling a little bit of movement or seeing a little bit of movement, setting that hook, having those lilies just explode. Boy, it's fun. There's one. That's a nice fish. He was right off the edge, wasn't he?
Yeah, I just missed him and come back and got it.
The 1/4 ounce weight I'm fishing is plenty heavy enough to get it through a little bit of vegetation in those gaps, but it is a little challenging with this wind to put it exactly where you want it. Smart man would probably stop and tie on a 3/8 or even a 1/2 ounce. Oh, there's one. Nice fish. Oh,
The hook too soon, cardinal sin. Didn't let him take it. Didn't let him take it.
well, you know, it's funny. A lot of times in Venice, these bass are really, really rich green, but the water's a little stained back here, and these bass are white. These are white fish from Venice. There he is. There he is.
Get him out. Big old bull. Big one. No.
Oh, I'm hooked up in the stuff. Not the biggest bass on the planet, but catching them in these lilies is a blast. It is just so much fun. Look how white that fish is. Very, very unusual for down here. Bit of matrix craw, and he stole my craw. So it's so windy, and the environment is so target rich. And what Jeff is doing is just going up maybe 20 feet or so, sticking down the spud pole, and we're just working a patch of lilies until we feel like we kind of exhausted the bites in that patch, and then we move on and do it again. Otherwise, you just be fighting this wind with the trolling motor, and it'd be a nightmare. You constantly be bumping into the lilies, compressing them, and the bass would realize something's up. There we go. Nice.
There we go.
Nice fish, Jeff.
Just gotta keep trying till you find one. There we go.
That's a chunk.
Yeah.
Good night. I knew I had a fish, and I'm like, no. I'm like, is that a fish? It could be a fish. I don't know. I've set the hook 5 times in a row, and it's not been a fish. Should I set the hook again? Sleeping on the job. So this is classic Venice fishing. We're back here at the back end of the Camp Canal fishing canes. And this is really what you want to do down here. Not to say you can't catch them in the ponds, because you definitely can. I know Jeff's done that a whole lot over his fishing career. But flipping these canes is kind of Venice 101. The key is you got to do it on a falling tide, preferably toward the end of the falling tide. When that water pulls out, sucks all those bass out from those canes and concentrates them right on the edges of these bayous and canals. And the action sometimes, frequently, can be just really, really stupid. Just one fish after another, and some really big fish at that. Oh, there's one. Oh!
Boy, get on him. He was gone with it, wasn't he? Way out here with it.
Took my speed crawl and everything. Man, I'm in a freaking funk. Killing me. Go back to fishing school. Just to show you how good the bass fishing is at Venice, we're complaining about how slow it is when we put more than 20 bass in the boat.
4 or 5 times and they're back to the boat. Sometimes they're by there.
There he is. There he is.
Oh yeah, nice.
And he was on the ledge. All right, so Jeff and I have noticed that these fish, with this water being so far out, they may be on this ledge rather than back as tight to the canes as they can be. Solid chunk. Nice. Nice.
There we go.
Nice.
There we go. Got him. Wake up. Wake up. Vegetation and all.
Not a giant. Not a giant at all. But it felt like a giant pulling this in with it. There he is.
Get him, digging. Hold on.
Please stay on. Came off. Oh, that was a good fish.
Yeah.
That was a good fish. That hurts.
Yeah.
Hurt my feelings. How is that not a fish?
Probably is if you could, in doubt, just pull straight up on it. Oh, that was a good one. Look at the man go.
There he is. I gave him 6 months.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. Punching the hyacinths. 1.5 ounce weight. Nothing quite like pulling a fish up through those hyacinths. Close combat. You get the spray all up in your face. You got the hyacinths exploding. Boy, it's just a lot of fun. Oh!
Got him.
There we go. Look at that, hooked right through the snout. Perfect. He could not have got off if he tried. I can't even get him off. There we go. Wouldn't win the Bassmaster Classic, but man, he was fun to catch. Homie don't play. So I started off my punching endeavor for the day with this Berkeley Havoc change-up. This is a very, very good bait for doing this, because you kind of want to bulk up your baits and target those big fish that are hiding up under those hyacinths. They got plenty of them down here in Venice. This is kind of a marsh environment. You almost think marsh bass, okay, you know, pound fish, maybe even less than that. But the normal rules don't apply here. These fish are protected for a long part of the year. Very, very bait rich down here. Lots of nutrients. And man, they just get really, really big. It's not your typical marsh bass. Now, they are susceptible to saltwater inflows, just like the marsh bass in other areas. But man, you go a few years without a hurricane, these fish can get really, really nice. A lot of local tournaments are won down here in the Venice area. Anglers will run 2-3 hours one way just to get here when it's right to catch these big bass. Oh, there he is. Nice. It just does not get any more fun than that. Hooked right in the top of the nose, just where you want him to be. We'll love it. Bye, big boy. Thanks for the fight. See you on the flip side. I tell you, one of the pitfalls of fishing down here is you've got so much life. You've got so many fish that are in this water that you never know really when you get a bite if it's a bass or if it's something else. Could be a brim, could be a crab. We keep getting bites from crabs. So you almost kind of hesitate a little bit when you feel a fish on there, wondering if, hey, it's another brim, you're gonna set the hook and the bait's just gonna fly out of the water. That's why it's always a thrill when you set the hook and it loads up, your rod loads up and you know, hey, that's a nice bass. Well, day one is in the books and it could hardly have been any better, especially considering the conditions. Post front, windy, cloudy, misty. Fish bit really well early in the day. Kind of had a big lull as the front was coming through, and then once that tide got down, the fish were just corralled in those bayous, and it was really, really good. We probably caught about 40 bass today, and some pretty nice ones at that, and we caught them the way that is most fun to catch them in my opinion, flipping, pitching, and also punching. Now tomorrow conditions are supposed to be very, very different. It's supposed to be bluebird, high sky, post front, high pressure, just about everything you don't want as a bass fisherman. But hey, magical things happen down here at the mouth of the Mississippi River, and tomorrow's a new day. I'm very optimistic just because of the place that we're fishing. Doesn't get much better than Venice, Louisiana. We'll see what happens tomorrow.